Do you also find it difficult to build up a meaningful relationship with your grandchildren at a distance? As a long distance aunt to a 2-year-old in Australia, I wanted to create a solution for the millions of family members who cannot be physically together all the time. This is why I created Peekabond, an app that helps you to connect with young children at a distance. The app works with the following 3 steps. First, we give playful activities suggestions that are based on your child's development stage. These suggestions are science-based and gamified. Secondly, you can create a private family circle. And finally, we'll let you send videos back and forth so you don't have to be live at the same time, and save them in one spot for your grandchild to watch. We've got over 120 content suggestions. You can build a love bank for your grandchildren. And if you go to the Cool Grandpa website and look for the affiliate links, sign up for a newsletter with a lot of inspiring content, or you can try the app for free.
Michelle Booth is passionate about bringing together little kids and the adults in their lives around storytelling and around books that make an impact and everlasting memories. Who amongst us can't remember climbing up on their grandparents' knee, having a book read to them? And even if it wasn't your grandparent, maybe it was your mom, your dad, maybe it was an aunt or an uncle, but that moment when, as a little kid, you're up on that adult's lap and they're reading to you your favorite story. Maybe it's Dr. Seuss, maybe it's Winnie the Pooh, who knows? But Michelle is passionate about trying to enable those that live distant from their little ones that they might be able to have a similar type of experience. And not only that, but a lasting experience that can be passed down for generations. So without further ado, let's jump into this conversation with Michelle. Hello, and welcome to the Cool Grandpa Podcast. This is your host, Greg Payne, coming at you from Studio 12. This podcast is about being the best possible grandpa you can be, focusing on what it is to be a grandpa and how we can all share that experience together for our grandchildren. Hi, Michelle. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to sit down with us and talk about Make Momentos. This is really going to be a great conversation, and I love the product that you have. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. Well, first, thank you so much for having me as a guest. I am thrilled to be here. I absolutely love what you're doing with your podcast and really reaching out to grandfathers, especially new grandfathers that are younger. So very happy to be here. Make Mementos is it's evolved over a lot of different things. When I was dating my husband many years ago, we would go over and visit his grandparents, usually on a Sunday, just to visit with them, check in and see how they were doing. And at one point, my husband secretly started recording my grandfather or his grandfather speaking. So he would turn on his recorder on his phone and, put it over on the table where his grandfather was sitting. And then he would start to ask him questions, tell me that story about, how you grew up and where you grew up. And so he collected all these voice recordings of these stories in his grandfather's voice that he has saved. Now his grandfather's passed away, and he still has all of these wonderful stories in his grandfather's voice. And so fast forward a little bit I started working in publishing. I'm a book editor and a ghostwriter. And started working with people on family legacy books. And I'm just a huge believer in preserving your story for your kids and your grandkids. And, there's just some amazing, amazing stories out there that, we know our parents as our parents, but they had a whole life before we were kids and before they had kids. And so what were they like when they were young, and what did they enjoy doing, and all those things. So I really just dove into that work. And so out of that came this idea for, okay, you can tell your story in written form for your kids and your grandkids. And part of my process in working with people on their memoir or autobiography is I interview them over several different sessions, and I record those interviews. And I'm sort of piecing all of these passions of mine together. And I thought, there's another way for grandparents to preserve their story for their kids and grandkids. And so it can be in written form. I'm a huge book person, but it can also be with their voice. So it's very much like when you get a voicemail from someone and you save that voicemail because either it's a special message or it's a special person in your life. And you can save that voicemail and listen to it whenever you want for forever. And so that's really what Make Momentos, the long-term vision for the company is. This is a way for people to give the gift of their voice to, a grandchild, a niece, a nephew, whomever it is in your life. And you'll always have that voice to pass on.
I love that idea of being able to capture that voice, because I know a lot of us have grown up, especially if you're born, let's say 60s, 70s, 80s, you might have a lot of Super 8 film from, the car ride to Yellowstone or whatnot, but there's not really any sound to it. And then, with VHS recording and some of the other things that came along, you could certainly start to get people's voices attached to it. But there's just something there where when you can hear somebody, and especially a relative, and share that experience of, hey, this is what your grandfather or this is what your grandmother sounded like. And this is them telling their story. Because I also remember how powerful it was as even a middle school and high school student when we would hear Martin Luther King giving the I Have a Dream speech, or we would hear Roosevelt, or even Babe Ruth, or, whatever these characters were from the early 20s when sound recordings were really coming in. And you could go, oh my gosh, that person has a really high pitched voice. That you could start to do a little bit of that voice doesn't match that person kind of thing. But it's really impactful, I think. And there's a whole industry out there that's captured these old speeches and recordings so people can listen to them, because that voice is a powerful thing. So I really enjoy the idea of being able to connect that voice and that family member together and creating a product that can be shared and then kept within the family for, as long as people remember where they left that digital file on the computer.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's studies out there that show how important a voice is, especially the voice of a loved one. It helps lower stress. It helps build bonds. There's so much benefit. I mean, of course, we live in an age of technology. We text, we, are doing all this communication digitally, but what text message is missing is the voice. It's really that human component of connection. So this really is a way to add that special component to it. And you hit the nail on the head, because if a grandparent sends, a Make Momentos book to a child, it's a great gift in the short term. It's fun, it's creative, but there's also that long-term vision of when that child grows up and starts to have a family of their own, they can say, you never got to meet my grandparent or my great grandparent. But here's you can hear their voice, and here's a little video message. So you can see them, and they read me a story when I was little, and now they can read it to you. So it's really trying to it's a legacy gift that we're trying to create for people.
Let's take a step back a little bit and talk about the Make Momentos, the book and the process a little bit, so folks know
Sure, absolutely. So there's basically 3 steps in the process. So you go to the website, makemomentos.com, and you browse a library of digital children's books. And you choose which one you want. We have a growing library, but we have books for, early readers, super, super young that are just a couple pages and a couple words, cats, and different animal books. And then, we have books for all the age ranges, we say 0 to 10. We are a little bit light on the 10-year-old age range. We're working on adding more books for that age group. Below that, we've got a lot of books for people to choose from. So you choose a digital book, and then once you've purchased that, you get an email with a link that will connect you to your library. And so that is on a laptop or desktop computer. You'll be able to log in and see the book that you just purchased. And then there's a 4-step process within that, which is you record a short video message. It's 30 seconds. And it's basically, we wanted to make a way for people to, instead of just sending them a book, you get a chance to say hello to your grandchild, tell them about the book, why did you buy it, or you can really say anything you want to in this video message. Hello, happy birthday, whatever you want to talk about. And then you start narrating the book, 1 page at a time. And then you get to preview the book at the end before you send it. And you can go back at any point in the process and re-record your video, re-record your narration. So you don't have to get everything right on the first try. And then it's as easy when you're done, you just email it to most likely the child's parent, and then they will go to the App Store or Google Play and download a free e-reader app. And then they will get a QR code to scan, and their book downloads directly into their e-reader app. And then they hit play, and you can set it to play automatically, or you can, some kids like to swipe and get more interactive, but it'll start with the video message and then the book plays. So they do get to see the artwork in the book as they're hearing the grandparent narrate the story to them.
I can tell you guys that I've used this application and it was really fun. I actually had my wife join me and we did the short video together.
I love that.
So my wife, Karen, is an architect, and the book that we were reading was called Little Red Crane. And so this was going to my 4-year-old grandson. And part of the video was her being able to say, hey, I'm going to send you some pictures because her construction sites all have different cranes and different things with it. And then I was able to narrate the book. And I will tell you, as far as a grandpa hidden code kind of thing, to get the kids even a little bit more interactive is you can definitely comment on what's going on in the pictures. And my grandson really enjoyed that interaction because I was asking him questions as far as, I'd read the narration and then it would be like, hey, do you see everybody on the boat? Do you see everybody here? Can you find the red car on the picture? And the feedback from my daughter-in-law was that he was really digging that and was answering those questions as if I was in the room with him reading the book to him. So the feedback from my grandson was really positive, and up to the point where he was saying, hey, I want to call grandpa at this point, and so that was awesome.
That is, yeah, that's perfect. That's really what it's all about. Like when we hear stories like that, it's like, that's why we're doing what we're doing, is really the feedback of what did the child think of the book and the video. And, we hear a lot that, the child just wants to play the video over and over again, or the child's like, you mean I can listen to this like over and over as much as I want to? Like, they just think it's so cool, that they get this their own little personal video of their grandparent, and they can listen to it, over and over, day, night, whenever. So I love that. I love that your grandson, really got into it. And we've heard that from another user as well, that she did the same thing. She was asking questions, and it was her nephew, I believe, and he was doing the same thing. He was trying to talk back to her and answer the questions. So that is so perfect. You're exactly right that it's not just reading the words on the page. Artwork is so important, and you have plenty of time to read the words, plus ask questions and point things out and make comments as well. So I love that you did that.
The thing that I always enjoyed with reading a book, and this is what's perfect with the application, is that when you have a grandchild on your lap, or you have your own son or daughter on your lap, and you're always asking those questions, or they're pointing out things that are like, hey, can you see the little bear off in the woods? Or can you see, whatever that is that's in the illustration? You either bring it up naturally as part of reading, or they bring it out and point it out. So it's a great, like I said, it was great that you gave us enough time on those pages that we could ask those questions or point things out on the page, that then the little ones can go in and go, oh yeah, I see what's going on there.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really a big, another sort of side benefit, of course, is, reading is so important to kids and helps their brains. I mean, there's so many benefits. And so, the educational component, this sort of makes reading fun. If a kid doesn't necessarily enjoy reading, this, makes it a little bit more fun and helps them, learn without realizing that they're learning.
One question I've got for you is, from an adult perspective, who typically makes up the people that are buying the book or using the app? We've been talking about grandfathers and grandparents, but are there other groups within the family unit that you've been seeing using this quite a bit?
Absolutely. We have been delighted. So we've had aunts and uncles using it to send, and it's been used even. So the idea was, if you live far away geographically, but even, you can live in the same town and do this. So it works both of those ways. Military families are finding it, really enjoyable. And actually, we even had, we've had dads, grandfathers, and then one family, the grandmother was moving away. And so the daughter had her child. So the granddaughter read the book for the grandmother. So if you have an early reader, it works both ways. If you want to send a gift, if you're a parent and you want to send a gift to the grandparent, you can have your little one, record the video and narrate the book as well, and show off their reading skills. But yeah, so it doesn't have to just be grandparents, grandfathers, and grandmothers. It can be any adult, even if you're a family friend, a godmother, if you've got a little one in your life, absolutely, this will work.
And one of the things too that I really enjoyed with the process that you have is that a mom or a dad could go in with the child and they could pick out the book they want. They could buy it, but then within the process, you can send it to somebody for them to narrate.
Absolutely. So that was, so in the very beginning, before the app was even built, I interviewed a lot of moms and grandmothers about the whole concept and really got feedback, beforehand, before we started building the technology. And a very common question from moms was, what if I wanted to buy a book, but I wanted my mom to record it? And that was from the beginning, we knew we had to build in that feature in that process. So I've definitely had several people go in and buy books and then send them to other people to record. And the other thing is if you have multiple grandkids, and so if you bought the Little Red Crane and you have 3 grandkids, and they live in different states or countries, you can buy the book. You do have to pay for each version, each digital book, but you don't have to re-record the whole thing from start to finish. It saves your audio narration. So it will ask you when you go in there, do you want to re-record this or do you want to use your previous recording? So we've tried to build in and make this as user-friendly as possible and as, make it easy and fun.
It really was. And to your point, I think you've got, even if I'm remembering right, tutorial video up front for first-time users or people that may have forgotten. And then you have those checkpoints along the way from, buying the book to doing the video, viewing the video and being able to re-record it, doing the narration, previewing it, and sending. And you really can't skip around and inadvertently mess it up. And Lord knows that probably happens to me more times than I care to admit, that I lose track of where I'm at and mess something up. But you guys really do have this as a pretty locked down process.
Yeah, we tried. Again, we knew that some people are tech friendly and they have, very comfortable with it, but there are also people that aren't. And so we wanted to make this as, easy to use and straightforward as possible. So we do have that. Hopefully, we've accomplished that. The feedback that we've gotten so far is that it is easy to use and easy to navigate. So far, so good.
What is the sweet spot of the age group? Because you were talking at 0 to 10, and you're still building out a lot of the catalog for that kind of, 9 and 10-year-old range. But what's kind of a sweet spot age group for the books that you currently have?
I would say probably 2 to 6. We do have, though, some for super early readers. So, for example, we have a niece out on the other side of the country. I'm in Florida. So I think she was 4 months old at the time. And my husband recorded a book for her and sent it out there. And so my brother and sister-in-law sent us a little video back of her. And my husband, of course, did sound effects. So it was a book with animals in it. And she was already, hearing those sounds. And again, it's all about the voice. So she was, really kind of looking like, okay, what is that? So we do have some, because again, reading from birth is so important to brain development. So even the younger ones, there's some books in there for super little ones as well, newborns.
That's great, because I think to your point, it helps the little ones, especially if you're remote, start to hear, hey, this is grandpa's voice, this is grandma's voice, this is aunt or uncle's voice. And so when grandparents finally get in person with the grandchild, they've been hearing the voice a little bit, and even some of the laughter and play that comes across in those books associated with that voice. So, that relationship, you still have to build it, of course, but again, it's for a little kid, it's going to be like, oh, I've heard this before.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing I wanted to ask you too was, do you have any tips and tricks for adults that are looking to buy one of these books and then sit down and do the recordings about, do they need fancy cameras? Do they need fancy mics to do all this stuff? And
yeah, great question. So absolutely not is the answer. You can use everything that's built into your computer. It does have to be done on a laptop or desktop computer. You can purchase a book on your phone, but you have to do the recording on a laptop or desktop. And the reason is because the print in the books can be super small and hard to read. And so, I know we all do so much on our phones, but we designed it that way on purpose. And also because we're trying to create an experience for people. So it's laptop or desktop, but yeah, no special equipment is needed. One thing that people might want to do, you don't have to record everything all in one sitting from start to finish. So you can go in there, and if you're not having your best hair day and you don't want to do your video, you can save that for another day, and you can do all the audio narration and come back later and do your video. You can, if you get halfway through narrating the book, your work saves automatically. So you can go talk on the phone, run your errands or whatever, and you can always come back to it. So, and I just would come back to what you were saying earlier as you're narrating. Yeah, have fun with it. Like, just enjoy pointing things out on the page and asking questions, and, use funny voices and sound effects, and, just have fun and make it, if you're having fun, that's going to come through in your voice, and they're going to have fun too. So, and eat the same with the video. You can make it special and funny and, whatever you want to do, but know that every step in the process, if you mess up, stumble on your words or whatever, you just re-record. It's super easy to do. So yeah, some people have wondered, if I click here, am I going to break something? You can't break it. You can't mess it up. So feel free to test things out and click on things, because you're not going to hurt anything. And like I said, your work saves, and worst case, you can email us, of course, and we'll walk you through stuff. You can, if you are not a tech person, you can buy a book and you get a 30-minute free consultation, and we'll walk you through it over a Zoom call. We'll do a screen share and give you a one-on-one little tutoring session. You won't need it, but because it's super easy to use, but you have that option for sure.
Oh, that's a great way to especially make people that, like you said, haven't been using technology a lot, or a little, nervous about it, to make sure that they've got the support they need to, really create a unique artifact for the family.
Yeah, that's our hope. So
do you guys have a product roadmap or something that you would like to share as far as any enhancements or future features that are coming into play?
So something that I would love is there are, the grandparents that I interviewed early on in the process. Several of them said, "Oh, I'm working on a book. I'm working on a children's book." And so what I would love to do is for this to be a project that you can create your own book. So if you have written, a short children's book story, or if you want to work on that project with your grandchild, you and the grandchild write a story together, and who's going to be the main character, and what's the, is it going to be an adventure or whatever. And so really making it easy for people to write a short story, pair it with some artwork, and then, create that book together and narrate it together. And so make it sort of a fun project, a collaboration. So that is one of my long-term goals. And then we just want to keep building our library, of course, and growing it. Some people have asked if we will put chapter books in the library. And personally, I can't imagine wanting to narrate a book that long. But we'll certainly, consider that and see if there's an interest and a demand for longer books. But adding just continuing to grow the library all along the way.
Yeah, no, those sound like some great features. And it sounds really cool to be able to sit down with a child or grandchild and create a children's book together.
Yeah.
And collaborate that way, because that's just another artifact or a memento that, you know, can be shared amongst the family. And, you know, someday when that child grows up and they're in their 40s and they've got kids and all that stuff going on, it's something that they can pull out and remember about what they did with grandpa or grandma, you know, aunt, uncle, when they were 6 or 7 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing about, you know, having the child participate in the recording process is, you know, preserving the child's voice. And so, you know, when that child grows up and starts having their family, here's me, you know, at 6 years old. So yeah, it's all about just the importance of voice and preserving that voice.
Now, I've also wanted to ask you too, have you guys thought about subscription services?
We have. And so again, going back to the people that we interviewed at the beginning, I kind of got mixed reviews on subscription service. So some, either you love it or you hate it, I guess. And so we have not done that to start with. That doesn't mean that we won't ever do that. And the other thing that we're looking into is, you know, a bundle package. So, you know, if you want to buy 3 books or 5 books or you know, we haven't really fleshed that out yet, but that's certainly something we're considering as well.
I think that would be kind of cool to be able to have that pop up the way like an Audible credit pops up on your phone and says, hey, you got 1 credit or 2 credits or whatnot to prompt you to go, hey, grandpa, time to go in and, you know, pick a book or ask the daughter-in-laws about, hey, what are the kids into, you know, this month?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that reminds me of something else. Another way you can use the app is record a book with your grandchild. So if you're visiting for a holiday or a vacation or whatever, or even if you live in the same town, it can be a project where you take turns recording a page, or even grandparents, you know, grandmother can record a page, grandfather can record a page, and you take turns. So there's a lot of different ways you can slice it.
Oh yeah, that would be cool. And thanks for that tip, because I hadn't, you know, in the last few weeks, I hadn't considered the idea of when I'm having an in-person visit that with my granddaughter or grandson, having us read a book together or having them read it with my wife. I think that would be great.
Yeah. Yeah. And we even had one older sister. I guess there was a big age gap. So the older sister recorded the book for the younger sister. So really, if you can read, you know, whatever your age, you can use this and get creative with it.
See, at one point you two did get along.
Right. Exactly. I have proof.
You know, before you moved out, you guys did get along at one point. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's fun. Well, Michelle, is there anything that I haven't asked you about in regards to Make Momentos that you would like to bring up or talk about?
I think we've really, you've really done a great job of covering everything. I'm not used to being the one that's interviewed. I'm used to doing the interviewing. And so, yeah, you've done a great job. And I think that, you know, I know that you had Carrie Byrne on last summer. You interviewed her on your podcast, and she's all about the long distance grandparent, and she had great suggestions. I loved your conversation that you guys had. And, you know, grandparents are just so important in a child's life. And so there's so many ways that you can get creative and connect with them. So I just encourage people to hopefully, you know, use Make Momentos as one of those tools to really just give that gift of your voice. And voice is important. So I know that, again, there's text message, there's FaceTime, you know, there's so many options, but just making that time. I think, you know, you mentioned earlier about being intentional and really creating that role, being an active grandparent. And, you know, you might not think maybe that you're making an impact, but boy, kids sure do love hearing your voice. And so however you can do that, a phone call, a video message, a book, I just encourage that interaction because everybody benefits. It's important. Technology is important, but just creating those connections and those bonds, I'm all for it. And I just encourage people to have fun with it.
Thank you for that. And those are great reminders that we want to use technology to increase the relationships that we build when we can in person, and just really use it as the add-on and not necessarily the substitute.
Yes. Absolutely.
Where can people find you and find Make Momentos?
Yeah, so the website is makemomentos.com, and it's Momentos. And that's where you go to browse the library of books and make a purchase. We are on Facebook, Instagram. We have a YouTube channel where we interview the authors of our books. So you can hear about, how did that book come to be? They, some of them are former teachers, and, there's tips and things like that. So there's more than just talking about books, but you can watch some of those videos. We have LinkedIn but that's more of a business community. So you'll find more of our fun, interactive content on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay. And I'll be sure to put links to those in the show notes as well. So if anybody's out driving around or jogging or whatnot, easy place to go is either one of our websites, and we'll be sure to have links to Make Momentos there.
Great. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Michelle, again, for taking time out of your day to sit down and talk with us about Make Momentos. This has been great. And granddads and grandmas, please go and check this out. This has been a really fun way for me to read a book to my grandson, have him consume it, and getting really positive feedback from my daughter-in-law about it. So you've got nothing to lose. Get in there, give it a try. I'm sure you're going to love it. And thanks again, Michelle, for being on the Cool Grandpa podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me. And again, I'm so delighted about the work you're doing. So that's awesome. Thank you for having me.
What a cool conversation with Michelle. I really enjoyed learning more about how she developed Make Momentos. I can tell you firsthand that this has been a fantastic experience for myself and my grandson. It was great to be able to sit down and record a video of myself doing the introduction to the book, as well as being able to record myself reading the book for my grandson. It's something that he is going to be able to enjoy, and it's something that we can do and share and talk about when we connect and we're in person. So do me a favor. Make sure that you head over to makemomentos.com, as well as you can go to YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook and look up Make Momentos in those locations. And if you're out running errands and you didn't have time to write any of this down, don't sweat it. I've got all these links in the show notes. So I hope you check it out, and I hope you record a book and make a lasting family memory. So until next time, remember to stay cool. Thank you for listening to the Cool Grandpa Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, please do me a favor and share it with a friend. That's the best way you can help us to expand our community, as well as get the news out about how valuable grandpas are in the lives of those kids. If you'd like to leave me a comment or shoot me a potential topic for this podcast, please go to www.cool-grandpa.us. Look for the comments tab, fill it out, hit submit. It's as easy as that. Until next time, remember to stay cool.